Well, welcome everyone to another edition of Becoming Awesome, AWS's live stream podcast where Amazon insiders introduce you to the humans of AWS. And if you've been watching this show and following along, you don't see any wrestling belts or anything going on because I literally had to make a last minute move due to some technical difficulties with the internet in the main podcast studio, given a lot of construction that's happening here. But then again, we still welcome you. I'm your co-host, Ray Thomas, senior recruiter with AWS, along with Jenna, principal recruiter, and we welcome you, wishing you a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, wherever you may be streaming from, whether you're watching on Twitch or whether you are on our AWS Careers YouTube channel, we welcome you. But again, just fair warning, there is some technical issues, but hopefully we'll be able to get through this. And Jenna, you brought in our guest today. First off, how are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing good. It's ironic we're both out of our natural habitat, so we have that in common today. I'm here in one of the New York City offices, and really impressed, Ray. You were very swift with your dealing with pressure and ambiguity. So you, you get a shout out for that quick move.
It's the
And
Amazonian way, right? That's what they train
yeah,
you for.
dealing with some ambiguity and having a bias for action to quickly simplify your situation.
Yeah. So again, that's why I got a second line, and they're both 2 gig internet speeds to make sure I never have issues. But
Yeah,
things
well,
happen.
I'll hold down the fort. I promise you, I will hold down the fort if things get a little bit funky.
Yeah.
Um, David, who we'll bring on, did say that he is a little bit disappointed though, because he really wanted to chat wrestling, all things wrestling with you. But so we won't have any show and tells of your room, but I know that we will have a show and tell of David's room because he has some pretty cool things that he can talk about.
Yes. Well, welcome, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you both for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I got one quick question, and I'm working with employer brand. Let's see if you could do this. Describe what you do in 10 words or less.
Oh, wow. Help our customers find value in optimizing and cost optimizing and making their workloads more efficient in the cloud.
That was awesome. You did well. You did
Yeah,
well.
that was unprompted, so really nice job. I love that you led with the customer. Doesn't that just like speak to our culture, right? Working backwards from the customer. You didn't even have to like contemplate that. It just organically came out, and that's because it's always on the forefront of our minds. So
Yes.
Totally is.
Yes.
really cool. And then actually, so could we then
You're a
how'd you
real
get
buyer.
here?
Yeah, real
Yeah,
background. Yeah, real
let's
info
get the
now.
backstory. Like, how'd you get here, and were you as customer obsessed before you got here, or did you that become you being here?
I would say that I've always tried to make sure that the customer is at the forefront of everything that I do, right? The customer is really what I think is what I see value in what we do, especially I work in the worldwide public sector. So everything that we really work on is directly affecting our customer, our citizen services, things that you and I interact with every day, things from health benefits, unemployment, even getting a new sticker for your local park, things like that, helping your state and local governments really take advantage of the efficiencies of the cloud and making sure that the services that they offer are accessible to everyone. So for me, the customer and the citizens are first in everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's your whole team or if it's a part of your team, and we'll talk about the role that eventually that you have, but there's an AI ML focus. So what can you share about that, how it ties to everyday people, all of us, right, who are watching and are citizens of this country?
Oh, of course, happy to. So the team I'm on in worldwide public sector, I am specifically working with the state and local government and education, or SLG EDU organization, and I run a team that's called Enterprise Applications Migration and Modernization.
Mhm.
And on that team, I would say roughly half of my team is focused on AI ML or generative AI. And we really see, what I love about it is that we're working with the customers and the local governments that we all utilize today to help them figure out ways to make access to their services easier and more equitable for everyone. So I see a lot of our citizen services looking at things like chatbots, right? So of course, with generative AI, having a chatbot as a front line to really help answer questions, guide people through benefit enrollment, things like unemployment enrollment, making it easier and more accessible. I also see in our education sector a lot of what I would consider virtual tutors or virtual tutor assistants, allowing every student to have equitable access to all the knowledge that's out there, really, so that help them accelerate their learning and ensure that, because, as being in school, I feel that a lot of the kids, they don't want to ask certain questions. They don't want to look dumb in front of their professor or anyone. So this really, in my opinion, we released one recently with a large university, and I realized, wow, that's really cool, right? Like, these students will have the ability, if their professor is not available, this is like the next best thing. They can still ask the same questions they would to the professor and ensure that they're getting the results back, especially within the new way that you can use RAG architecture with some of our generative AI capabilities. You can really ensure that the large language model that powers the chatbot is really only looking at the data that you provided as part of that RAG architecture.
That's really interesting. And I talked to someone else about what are the possibilities in the education space. And the biggest thing that keeps on coming up is the ability to teach people that where English is not their first language, right? And just being more proactive in the translation, if that makes sense, right? Versus like kind of trying to translate later on versus it being translated as it's happening. And just so their education is just, I think, going to skyrocket, right? They're going to learn faster and just not be left behind with like some folks struggling with communication skills, right? And the vocabulary.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about like how it really is democratizing access, right? Like for you just like simply in two use cases right there, and then raise third. But like some people don't have the resources for tutors, and some people are just afraid to share, or and so I'm sure there's hundreds more, right, that can be captured using this technology. So that's why I love these calls. Like, I just love personally learning about all this as well.
Yeah.
And the applications are immense, right? There's so much opportunity for us to really, in content generation, looking at I'm working with a customer, like, do grant proposals, right? Streamline the process, pull in, make it quicker for our nonprofits to really apply for different grants that are out there. And getting through all of the policy issues, you can actually upload the policy documents to a large language model and have it help you guide through the process to ensure that you are providing all the required attributes, but also making sure you're following the right procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Let's switch it up, and then we'll get back to, I think you have a very interesting role to speak of, but that's funny. I was going to go into some of the personal stuff first, and Isaiah beat me to it. What's your favorite drone to fly, the Mini or the Maverick? How many times a month do you get out and fly them? I love the printer hanger. Lol.
Wait, how did Isaiah know about the drones? Is that
You
because
can see it right
Isaiah
behind
sees
them.
it?
You can see it right
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was there because I got a sneak peek of a quick tour during our warm-up session, but I wouldn't have recognized that. So nice eye that you got there, Isaiah. Sorry to interrupt on the question, but I was
No
curious.
problem.
Since Isaiah is a regular guest, so he gets it.
Oh, cool. Thanks for the question, Isaiah. I actually have 5 different DJI drones, and I will say I am a DJI snob,
Nice.
mainly because I love the performance and capabilities that they have. Also love the camera aspect. I would say that it really depends on which one I use, right? So if I'm traveling, I take the Mini with me because I took it to Aruba. I've taken it to different vacations. It's really small, fits in your bag. and has really good, about a half hour's worth of flying time, and can go about 3 miles out from where you are, which I think is amazing, right? Also has a really cool follow me feature. So you can actually set it if you're biking or kayaking, it'll follow you wherever you go and get some really cool action shots. However, if I'm doing, so one of the things that I do with my drones, the Mavic Pro 2 is what I use the majority of the time. And it's mainly because, of course, resolution, but I've tried to make some money out of my hobby. Mm-hmm. So I work with our local Remax agent, and any large properties that they're listing, I will actually fly my drone around it, take pictures, and then help them pick the best ones to upload to the listing. And I get paid for it. So I think it's a win-win, really. I try to go out. I would say I go out almost every week. I try to do something with it. It's tougher during the winter, but it's really a great way to just kind of relax. You also get a different aspect, right? We're so stuck in the day-to-day of what we do most of the time. We forget to, like, look up, look around, right? Yeah. There's a whole nother world out there. And what I love about it is you go up to that 400 or 800 foot ceiling, whatever you're flying around, and you get a different perspective, and you realize just how beautiful and immense this country is, right? And how many things that we just don't realize, like, wow, that's only like right next door, and I had no idea it was there. It's been amazing to realize, like, what else is out there to see.
You just said it. It's the reason why I actually got my very first drone, is because of that. I knew, like, the perspective from higher up will kind of bring a different level of peace and appreciation for life, right? And just, again, the mental escape from the day-to-day grind. But I will, I don't want to take up too much time talking about drones, because I will bug you, because I was only allowed to fly it once. And then I haven't had a chance to, because the FAA kept on preventing me because of the zone restrictions and all that stuff. So I'm going to ask you if you got your 107 license as well, but you probably did. Yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
I have a question for both of you. Have you ever lost your drone and had to go find it in the wilderness or wherever?
I've lost several. Oh. I've probably lost 6 or 7 of them now.
It feels like such an adventure. Do you fight hard to find it, or you just kind of give up? If it's 6 or 7, I'm thinking that you just they're dispensable at this point.
I wouldn't say they're dispensable. What I would say is I recommend, when you're first starting out, buy a cheaper drone, right? I went ahead and I bought a Mavic Mini for my first one, which was about $400. I think I invested. And about 2 weeks after I had it, I lost it. Mainly because you don't realize when you're first starting out, it takes a while to really master the controls. Also, wind and wind speed and direction, you really need to keep in mind, because it'll affect your drone. And I lost 2 drones in heavy winds now. So I definitely recommend the drone you bought is actually really cool, right? I will say it's a little bit more on the expensive side to learn on. So just be careful. I went ahead and I bought like a $100 drone out there just as my second drone, just so I could kind of learn the basics. Before I dove back in with the DJI models.
Yeah, great tips on drone. My first flight, it flew into my fig tree. So I had some of the fig leaves in my propeller blades. So awesome. I will definitely ping you on the side, but I definitely want to get into, your opening. Let's talk about the SA manager role that you have, because, it sounds really, really interesting, and want to get to know more about it. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So as I kind of mentioned earlier before, I am the SA manager for the state and local government and EDU organization running the enterprise applications migration and modernization team. And my team actually we cover 3 separate services. So we cover Microsoft, and any kind of Microsoft workload, and primarily Microsoft migrations, end user computing, as well as AI ML. So it's it's a varied services. However, in several ways, they do complement each other. And what I like about it is really can see, like on the Microsoft side, we help some of our largest state and local governments migrate and modernize their on-prem data centers to the cloud, really helping them save cost and money, which really affects us, right, as taxpayers. Anything that we can do to make their workloads more efficient and accessible, I think, is really our goal. Same thing with our end user computing services. We offer a wide range of offerings that really allow you to migrate your workloads and realize that if you're utilizing the AWS end user computing resources, that you can keep all of your data local within AWS. So security is a big thing with our customers. So being able to make sure that not only are we bringing over the right workloads, but we're doing it in a secure fashion as well. And then the third aspect, and touching upon the role that I have, is on the AI ML specialists that are on my team. And I do have currently have an open role for an AI ML specialist, solutions architect. And it would be primarily working with our SLG or state and local government customers to really help them understand how generative AI may affect citizen services, areas that it may affect their business, and ways to look at how it will enhance their business. And in the role that I have open, really looking for someone who has, of course, experience with generative AI or AI ML in the past, but also is really looking forward to working with some of our largest SLG customers to work backwards from their problems and find innovative and creative ways to solve some of the things that are challenging for them today. So with this role, we do a lot of POCs. So one of the things that we do for a lot of our customers is stand up proof of concepts so that they can see the art of the possible, understand what the value is that AWS has and what we can do to help them really progress their business.
Gotcha. I got a quick question from the chat. Do SAs work remote, or are they assigned to an office or territory?
All of my SAs are remote. Everyone is assigned to an office. However, we spend a lot of time with customers, right? So we do not currently have an office mandate, but we're always welcome to go into an office. And I actually really try to push that with the team, right? I think there's nothing better than being in person with each other and having that collaboration. It's awesome to be able to see each other on video, but you know how it is. In real life, things are a little bit different, and you can really make that bond and connection a lot stronger.
Can you talk a little bit about how you will be going about assessing for fit, specifically on the tech side for the focus of AI ML?
Sure. So I'm really looking for someone who has a background in data science, if possible. So someone who's we see a lot of our more security conscious customers starting to take a look at training their own LLMs. So someone who has had experience either pre-training or training large language models, understands prompt engineering, would be another benefit would be if they've had some exposure to our AI ML services, such as Amazon Bedrock, including some of the large language models that we host, as well as how you utilize things like knowledge bases and guardrails with Amazon Bedrock to really secure the large language model and ensure that you're trying to remove any kind of bias and hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And given that the technology is still ever changing and developing the best is a focus for you as a manager, how do you see this person developing in their career should they be selected and accept the role with you?
Well, I think it's an amazing opportunity, because one of the things that I think is great about this opportunity is that we get to work with some of the latest and greatest tech, like you said. And I know that our competitors have, I feel, really good marketing out in the field where their name is always out there. However, with the pace and acceleration of change in this environment, I think people are starting to realize that in the future, all the large language models are going to be on an even keel, right? I know that one of our competitors' model was better than the rest for a while there, but we started to see some of our models are now outperforming that. So I would, as the person comes in, not only do they have exposure to the most cutting edge technology out there, but really one of my big mantras with the team is that we want to ensure that you have the space to really stay ahead of what's next. So we try to allocate 20% of your time to making sure that there's new research papers that come out. If there's a new way or new technique for prompt engineering, that we make the space for our SAs to really learn. So want to make sure that you have the opportunity to come in and start building, but also realize that we want to invest in you, right? And we want to make sure that you stay that specialist. So the knowledge you bring is amazing, and we want to help you build upon it and because when we do, it makes AWS better as a whole.
That's awesome. There's so many curious people on this call today. There's lots of great questions. So we definitely want to make sure we get to those.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had a comment from Part-Time Hobo, another regular. My current company is definitely one of those. We're looking at deploying our own private LLM with Bedrock. That's really awesome to hear. Question from Hepta5. Because you work with government agencies, are you looking for candidates that are familiar with FedRAMP, DoD, impact levels, HIPAA, question mark?
Yes, 100%. Those are excellent additives to have for the role, especially since I work closely with our federal team as well. So there's availability for my team to work in the federal space, which I think is even more exciting because there you get to work with some of our, like the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Army, large customers like that.
Gotcha. And he also followed up, and do you primarily work in GovCloud? Just asking, since there's always a delta of services that are available to meet compliance requirements in addition to making technical solutions.
I would say in my previous role here at AWS, I was working primarily in GovCloud, but moving to this SLG EDU role, I would say that we work more in the commercial cloud now, but I do realize that there are some constraints and that the tech that we have in commercial, it's not always a fast follow into some of our GovCloud regions, but we do that because of the extra security and policy requirements. Trust me, there's definitely a plan to make sure that our services are at parity across all of our data centers. We just need to make sure that we're doing it in a safe and impactful manner that adheres to the right policies.
Gotcha. And one question, when we look at the AIML Solutions Architect opening, which I shared in the chat, I provided the link for it. Boil it down for me. What's special about this role to the point where someone that's a high performer, someone that's really content with where they are and doing incredibly well, maybe even at a top competitor, why should they pause and actually take a look at this job seriously?
To be 100% honest with you, one of the, kind of reiterating a little bit of what I said earlier is that the tech is changing so fast, right? Where else can you get hands on the latest technology and realize that as new features and functionality come out, as a solution architect at AWS, you get first hands-on experience. You have the ability to even work with the development teams that are creating some of our next-gen solutions to test them out before it's available to the public. The other thing that I really think is cool is that you get to make change in things that actually affect us day to day, right? So we're, like I said earlier, working with like the state and local government agencies to really ensure access to all of their services, or get away from having to require us to send in paper submissions of different things, where we can really move to electronically handling most of that. So you actually get to impact everyday citizen lives, which I think is amazing, right? I like to get up in the morning and realize like I can make something better for others. And I think that's one of the main things or reasons I'm here.
It's awesome. It's really
There's
awesome.
so much opportunity, right? I mean, that's such a legacy technology that's been used. So there's such an opportunity to make things more usable.
100%.
Yeah. So, we have a few minutes left. Again, I want to get to know you a little bit. Let's see. There's actually more stuff coming in. Hold on. Been challenging to find the right skills for the open roles. Has it been challenging?
It has. Mainly there's a lot of programming language like PyTorch and TensorFlow, different capabilities that we would like to see in certain candidates. That's why I will say that take a look at the roles. Even if you don't think that you have all of the requirements for the role, apply, right? Happy to take a look at whatever you've done and also provide guidance. I'm really big on if someone wants to apply for a role, I'll have an honest conversation, right? Let's take a look at what you have and what I think would be next steps to kind of get you to where you want to be. I want to help everyone succeed.
Right. Awesome. I agree. So I agree. I think people should shoot their shot, especially in this market. Again, sometimes it's, the way our job descriptions are written, you may not be right for that, but you may be perfect for something else that you didn't click on. So definitely do that. And the question is, how often do you all travel, especially in education? Do your customers prefer in person? And Part-Time Hobo, it almost feels like something's missing without all the WWE belts and Ray's background. I apologize, technical difficulties, but next time.
Yeah. What about the travel though? Let's get that answered for sure before we go.
I would say that No, we don't travel every week. I would say that I probably travel a couple of days every other week, 2 or 3 days a week, maybe once or twice a week a month.
Does your
Uh,
drone come with you?
My drone has come with me to several cities. So that's one of the things I do like about traveling for work is that I get to take different videos around different cities. But yeah, I would say that, yeah, it's only maybe 6-7 days a month you might travel, which really isn't that bad. I want to make sure that work-life balance is really a priority.
Gotcha.
Thank you for saying that, for recognizing that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have to. We're all humans. We all have lives, right? Want to make sure we work to live, not live to work.
So we have, first off, thank you, David, for sharing everything and sharing not just your personal, fun hobbies, but also what you do here and the incredible work that the team is doing, the important work that the team is doing, and the impact it's going to make on civilization, especially in the education space, right, as well, and sharing the opening. We do have this survey that we always share, regarding the show. So I want people to take a quick look. It literally takes you 1 minute to fill this out. And let me pop that in.
Yeah, and I'll also say that one thing we didn't bring up about David that's interesting, and I think is probably molds your management styles, that you were an IC. You were in this role here at Amazon. And so just real quickly, how has that shaped how you approach your team?
I actually think it's been really valuable in helping me approach my team because I understand the day-to-day asks. I understand what it is that they're tasked to do every day. I understand how hard it is to also balance all the different priorities. So I try to really, with that insight, I try to make sure that what I ask of my team would be nothing else that I'd ask of myself, right? I would jump in and help them with whatever, and also make sure that they feel supported. Right? Because I want to make sure that they realize that they're not alone, that we're all here as one team, and together is when we make our best success.
Fantastic. That's the clip. We'll get that one.
Yes, that's the clip for sure. So we're almost at time. I put a few links in the chat, for all of you to either join the AWS Talent Network, whether you're earlier on in your career or you're seasoned professionals. I actually posted that twice because since we're simulcasting to both YouTube and the Twitch channel, the YouTube gave like an error. So reposted it just in case no one there misses it. But absolute pleasure meeting you, David. And thank you, Jenna, for introducing us. Fantastic guest. And I will be bothering you more about your drones. So, and we'll chat WWE as well.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
I look forward to getting to know you more, David, as we work together. So thank you for making the time today.
Yeah, awesome. So for anyone that doesn't follow AWS Careers YouTube channel, that's youtube.com/@ AWS Careers. A lot of great videos and content about day in the life of series, as well as the different affinity groups. So yeah, there's a lot of content for you to learn more about what it's really like to work here. So see you there.
And thank you, everyone, for the great questions.
Yes.
Come back, keep asking them.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.